Hi and welcome to episode 145 of the Photography Explained podcast. I'm your host Greg, and in each episode I will try to explain one photographic thing to you in plain English in less than 27 minutes-ish without the irrelevant details. Sorry, I'm laughing there because I had to pause for breath because I've gone off at a bit of a pace again. What I tell you is based on my lifetime of photographic experience and not Google. Okay, lots of research in this one again. So, in this episode, how technology and cameras helps us to take photos, part 2. And also some more thoughts on the last episode, how technology and cameras helps us to take photos, part 1. No surprise. First, here is the answer bit. Well, I did that in the last episode, didn't I? So, in this episode, I want to get straight into the things that I did not have time to talk about. And I'm not going to lie to you, some of them I regret putting here, but this is the list. Focus bracketing. Post-focus simulation, in-camera HDR, JPEG presets, high-resolution modes, processing in-camera, wireless live streaming, in-camera forgery-proof technology, lens coatings, editing, AI stuff, phone technology, and image processing. Yeah, that's one for another episode, but more on that later. Right, let's go through these one by one. Don't worry, I shouldn't take too long with these. So first one, focus bracketing. Now, I've actually heard of this one. This is where you take multiple images with different focus points. The theory is that you can get more of a photo in focus than by taking a single image capture. Now, I do exposure bracketing, and this is the same idea, but with the focus rather than the exposure, obviously, hence the name. Now, you'd use this technique for macro photography. Now, I don't do that, so I'm going to have to move on because I know nothing about it. But you could also use this for, well, it's for any subject where you need more depth of field. Now, think of an epic landscape with something right in front of you that you want to get tack sharp as well. Yeah, I could use this for my photos of buildings. Now, I knew this process as focus stacking. Now, focus stacking it's related but not quite the same. See, bracketing is the taking of the photos, and the stacking is the process of merging the images together to create one new image. Now, I didn't know that, and all I knew of, and other photographers do this, it's called focus stacking, the whole process. So, it doesn't really matter, it's the point of getting more in focus. So how does tech help us to do this? Well, I don't do this because it sounds rather complicated to me and it sounds like a bit of a technical challenge. But if you had a Canon EOS R6, the Canon EOS R6 does this in camera with a single press of the shutter release button, would you believe? Yep, Canon have got the tech sorted, so you don't need to worry about how this works. Just set the camera to focus bracketing mode and you are good to go. Now, I'm assuming that there are things that you have to tell the camera that you want to do, some kinds of parameters, but not having a Canon EOS R6, I don't really know. And there's also a device which you can attach to a camera called Arsenal. That's a bit of an odd name for what this device is, but it's a very clever device, which my understanding is it attaches to most cameras. Now, this costs a couple of $100, which it's a couple of £1,000. Sorry for the mixed currencies there, but I haven't done the conversion, but you'll get the idea. It's a significant amount cheaper than the Canon R6, and with Arsenal, you can do focus stacking with your existing camera, along with other clever stuff. Now, Arsenal's probably something that I could have just done all on its own, but I haven't got time, and I'm sticking to my list from last time. You can buy it on Kickstarter and other places, I believe. So, focus stacking, what it gives you, you can rely on your camera aperture to give you a depth of field for a certain focal length, and you can calculate what's sharp from front to back. But I believe with focus stacking, you can get more precise, more accurate focus and combine stuff and get sharper photos. I think that's what you can do as well. So, it can make a difference, and the fact a camera can do it for you is just, well, it's quite frankly amazing. Right, next one, post-focus simulation. Well, I came across this on the Panasonic website. Yeah, I know, this is like a legitimate new camera browsing thing that I've been doing, all in the name of research, of course. Now, the problem is that when I find stuff like this, I want it for myself. It's not actually called post-focus simulation, but it's called post-focus function. I'm not really sure where I got that from, to be honest with you, but I'm sure it's on the same website. Now, this is clever. It's very clever. It's taking about 30 frames with varying focus points around the main image capture, and you can select the focus point that you want afterwards. Yep, very, very clever indeed. Now, I know that we should be getting stuff right in camera, but this does have specific uses that can help us, so it's fine in my book. And thinking about it, it's not dissimilar to the thing that I've never got my nut round with my iPhone when it takes... you take a photo and you can select before you took the photo and after. It's a similar thing, which is a great feature. I can't remember what it's called now. Is it Live Photo or something? It's like that, but much more powerful. Okay, in-camera HDR. Well, this is an easy one for me. My Canon 6D does this. Yes, even my dear old Canon 6D does this. The only problem is it creates a JPEG file. Now, if it created a RAW file, that would make my life much simpler and I might use it. And what I'm talking about here is the camera's taking 3 images at different exposures at the same time and blending them together to create a single HDR image. Now, I do this manually for every photo that I take. I use the auto bracketing feature, take 3 photos and merge the ones I want to together in Lightroom. I merge 3 photos together to create a new HDR image. It's not an HDR image, it's an image with an extended dynamic range. Let's not call it HDR because I get in trouble for that. So having a camera that does in-camera HDR with raw image capture is well worth me getting a new camera for. Again, this is how tech can help us as photographers, which is what this is all about. So in this specific case, I wouldn't need to take 3 photos myself and merge them together in Lightroom. I would take the new the new image formed by the merging of the 3 in camera, and I'd just work with that one file. And that would save me lots of time and lots of memory on my computer. Let's not forget that. JPEG presets. Well, rightly or wrongly, when I think of JPEG presets, I think of Fuji. Now, they give different looks to photos, and they simulate the look we use to get with film cameras. There's lots more presets than that, but I don't have a Fuji camera, and I've never used any of these presets, so I'm not the one to talk about this. Add to that, I shoot in RAW, and I've never used a preset when I'm taking photos, but they are a great way of getting something different in camera, and getting something different helps us to stand out from the crowd for sure. And if you just want to take photos and be done, and are happy that the camera applies the look and feel that you want, then this could be for you. Just imagine this. Take the photos, let the camera do the processing, and you're done. That sounds quite good, doesn't it? Editing's taken out the process of creating photos. Again, if you're happy with this, then this is a great way to let the tech take the strain and help you. And anything that helps us is a good thing. And if you're new to photography, or if you're not new to photography but new to using a camera to take photos rather than a phone, and I hope that you are because it's a wonderful transition to make, you can use these preset settings to get you quickly up and running. Just remember that you can't undo the stuff that the camera does when creating JPEG files though, okay? You can also get presets in most image editing software. One click and you have a new look for a photo. And it's not something I've ever done. So, whilst I'm doing myself a disservice here, I need to say that I do have my own presets that I've created in Lightroom. So, yeah, I'm with it. I'm down with the current tech. Not. High resolution modes. Well, yeah, I use these as well. So what happens here, the camera takes a number of photos at the same time and puts them together to create a 40 megabyte JPEG file. This is using tech to make a camera compete with larger sensor cameras. This is dead clever. Now you need your camera on a tripod for this, as the camera takes 8 photos in about 1 second. Well, it depends of course on the shutter speed. And it's using the same tech that's used for image stabilization. And yeah, see the last episode for more on this. So it uses the software for image stabilization to move the sensor for each shot. Then it's clever enough to put it all together, and in it pops out a high-resolution 40 megabyte JPEG file. I've done this and it makes a difference. The results were excellent. I should do it more often, and that's a question for myself. Processing in camera. Well, what do I mean by this? Well, simply taking a photo in JPEG format. You take a photo in JPEG and the camera does an amount of processing. Take a photo in RAW and the only processing that the camera does is to create the actual photo. Now, if you've ever wondered why JPEG files look better than RAW files, which look rubbish to start with, that's why. And if you take a photo in RAW, the photo that you can see on your LCD screen on your camera, and increasingly more, of course, in the EVF, now that's more than likely a camera-generated JPEG preview. That's another one that I'm struggling with, that I'm taking photos in RAW, but my camera is showing me a JPEG preview because it looks better than the RAW photo. Do you know what? I'm not really sure if I want it to do that. It's making a decision for me that I hadn't really realised, to be honest with you. But if you're happy with your camera doing some or all the processing, then great. This is probably a whole episode in itself. Definitely one for the future. I'll add it to my list. Well, not now, but in a minute, when I'm done recording. But what you need to know here is that you can use the tech in your camera to do as much or as little processing of images in camera. Now, for some people, that will be a game changer. For me, for the work that I do, I want to do the processing myself because I've got very specific requirements, okay? So I don't tend to use these things, but we need to remember that the gap between the quality of images you can get in JPEG and the quality of images you can get in RAW is closing all the time. Not sure if we're at the point yet where JPEG is as good as RAW, but it will happen, I would imagine, with the advances in technology. Okay, regret time. Wireless live streaming. Well, I'd never heard of this, and when I looked into it quickly, this is more for broadcasting or live streaming on a website. Well, of course it is, Rick. What else would it have been? And yes, you can do this with a phone. Not really sure where this came from. I think it came up when I was searching through Google as wireless live streaming. That looks interesting. Turns out it isn't. So, do you know what? I'm going to move on if that's okay with you. Now, this is a good one. In-camera forgery-proof technology. Yes, really. So, again, I'm spreading the camera manufacturer love here. This is one from Sony. And I'm going to quote from the Sony website. I'm sure they won't mind. I'm presenting their technology in a positive light. So, this is it, straight from the website. It's dated 4th of August 2022. See, I am with it. Sony today announced the availability of its in-camera forgery-proof technology for corporate business users. Using digital signals processed at capture, Sony technology supports detection of any modification to an image, thus protecting it from fraudulent usage. Following widespread issues with unauthorized editing and misconduct around digital photo data, Sony has developed forgery-proof technology based on standard cryptography for corporate users to safeguard images against future misuse. With Sony's in-camera signing mode activated, images are immediately cryptographically signed by the camera processor upon capture. Following this, any pixel modification, tampering or potential forgery will cancel the image signature, as the image manipulation, easy for me to say, will be detected by the customer's own certificate server during examination. Available on the Sony Alpha 7 Mark IV camera, with expansion to other models to be considered in sequence, this new functionality streamlines the lengthy process required from image submission through to verification, all with the addition of extra security. And breathe, Rick. Blimey, that's rather impressive. Yeah, don't worry about the corporate clients bit. I mean, while it says this is for corporate clients, I expect this to be rolled out to us normal folks at some point, and before we know it, this is going to be built into every camera. This is one of those things that I came across it and I was like, yeah, right, whatever. And then I started to think about it and I was like, actually, this is genius. This is so clever. And to photographers, it will have a real value. Now, what we do with the if someone's editing our photos is another matter, but it gives us a warning of it. So it's got to be a good thing. And like I say, I think we'll all have it at some point in the future as encryption and all that stuff gets cleverer. Or should I say more clever? Lens coatings. Why did I add this to my list? Lens coatings. What am I going to say about this? Well, lens coatings reduce reflections in camera lenses, and the more layers in general terms, the better, and not batter, which is what I typed in my script. I've checked the script many times, and I still found batter was in there, which was a disappointment. But on camera lenses, you get what you get. There's no choice in the matter with the camera lens. The coating is the coating, but to be fair, there will be some pretty spectacular lens coatings, and the more expensive the lens, probably the more expensive and better performing the lens coatings are. But you don't get a choice. You can't pick a coating for your lens. Well, I don't think you can. Where you do get a choice, though, is with camera filters, where you can get filters with no coating, a coating on one side, a coating on both sides, or multiple layers both sides. And yeah, you've guessed it, the more coatings the better, and the more expensive the filter will be. I guess the important thing to say here is that lens coatings are like the hidden tech, and it's applied to the lens elements using ultra clever kit and vacuums. It's technology that I can't really comprehend. And without these coatings, camera lenses wouldn't be what they are today because of all the light loss through the different lens elements from reflections. But yeah, not one we talk about. So I'm not sure what you can do with the information I've just given you there, but at least you know a little bit about coatings now. Right, editing. Tech in editing. Well, let's take Lightroom, which is my photo editing software of choice. In a very recent update, they introduced Content-Aware Remove. Let me say that again. Content-Aware Remove is now in Lightroom. I used this the other day on a photo and it was amazing. I mean, so much so that I might never use Photoshop again because I only use Photoshop to remove stuff that I can't remove in Lightroom. But if Lightroom can do it, then I don't need Photoshop anymore, which is a good thing for me. To be fair, though, it's thrown in with my Creative Cloud pack, so yeah, it's not a biggie either way. But it's one less thing for me to do. It's one less piece of software, so I'm happy with that. Sorry, Adobe, but Photoshop's just too complicated for me. And now Lightroom can also automatically select people or objects in a photo, and it can also work out which bit is the sky. I mean, this is incredible stuff, and it's stuff that I use on a daily basis, which is now helping me to work faster and to create better photos. And yep, there's another episode in waiting here, and hopefully you've picked up on the recurring theme across all these bits of tech. AI stuff. Well, I covered AI in a previous episode, albeit by merely scratching the surface. I could have gone into much, much more detail, but decided not to. I feel like a monthly AI update is required. Things are moving so fast, but no, I'm not going to do that because I got no aspirations to be the AI photo guy. Having said that, that sounds no. I'll do an update in the new year though because I found it more interesting than I was going to expect. I was expecting the AI one to be stuff that I don't want and don't need and just to rubbish it all and say it's unnecessary tech not helping us, but it was far from the case. Right, phone technology. Well, the other day I was looking at the new Samsung Foldy thing. It's a touchscreen that folds out to make it double the size. I mean, really, Samsung? How did that one happen? It's incredible. But, and I was looking at the phone that somebody else was using, and all I could think was, oh, that'll never last. It's going to go on the joint or something. But, of course, it'll last. People like Samsung aren't going to make screens like that don't last. It's absolutely remarkable technology. Now, I could, of course, go on forever about tech in phones, and no, I'm not going to. But when I did a Google search for Best New Camera Phone Feature 2022... well, all roads pretty much led me to the Google Pixel 7 phone. Now, I've covered a range of manufacturers today, haven't I? To be fair to me, including Google now. And no, I am not being paid to say this stuff. Not by any of them. Not a penny. Nothing. Just saying. Well, not yet, anyway. Hint, hint. Canon, Nikon, Fuji, Sony, Panasonic, Google, Samsung. Hint, hint. Sorry, the Google Pixel 7 has a 50 megapixel sensor. The Google Pixel 7 has a 50 megapixel sensor. It's a phone. My Canon 6D has a 20 megapixel sensor. 50 megapixels in a phone? Unbelievable. And it's great apparently in low light too, which is One of the challenges that phone cameras have been facing for many years now with the much smaller sensor sizes. And it has a magic eraser. All this in a phone? Really? Yeah, really. This is absolutely remarkable. There's much more as well, but I need to move on. Sorry. Image processing. Yeah, well, I need to come on to that. That's going to be one for another episode without doubt. There's much too much for here. But I touched on a few things, and yes, this is the same as the editing one. So yeah, this is so important in terms of tech helping us with our photos. Not the taking, but the creating. So important I included it twice. Right, the talky bit. Well, this has been interesting, and it's made me want to buy 3 new cameras and a funky bit of add-on tech. But do I really need this tech? Oh yeah, and I want to buy the phone that folds out as well. And I want the Google Pixel 7. But do I really need this tech? Well, in-camera RAW HDR would be great, as long as it kept all the individual files, that is. Well, at least until I have faith that it could do as good a job as I can, that is. Yeah, I know. It's a worry. It would be one less thing for me to do. My camera taking one job off me, helping me to take my photos. It would reduce the time spent, well, taking photos, I guess. But in Lightroom, I'd have 1 photo rather than 3. I wouldn't have to merge them to create a 4th. So I'd save on disk space and stuff, and it'd just be one less thing to do, which would be great. Focus bracketing. Now, I do like the sound of this. I think it might give me more sharpness. I tried to explain this earlier, from front to back in a scene, and it'd give my photos something extra to make them stand out. So I am actually going to look into that one. That's about $5,000 it's cost me in this episode. The serious point, these things would genuinely help me to take better, different, higher quality photos more easily, and that's the point here. And this is the point I want to get to. That is how us photographers should view the tech, as doing just that. See, I've got the high-res mode on my Olympus camera, but I don't use it all the time. So you don't have to use all this tech all the time. Now, I'm not driven by the tech. I use the tech that I have to help me, and I think that's the right way round. But yeah, the phone with the folding screen, it does look amazing, and that's a problem. Well, it's not a problem, is it, as long as we're honest with ourselves? Do I need a phone with a screen that folds out? Nope. No need for one. Will it help me to take better photos? Probably not. Will I use it for anything meaningful? Nope. I have no need for it, but I wouldn't mind one. And this doesn't stop me wanting one, which is absolutely fine. Like I say, we just need to be honest about this stuff. If you want to spend all your money on the latest tech, then go for it. That is your choice, and indeed, you're right. But don't make the mistake of thinking that with the latest tech you will automatically take great photos. Shock news, people, you won't. If you take a photo with the best camera in the world, but with a rubbish composition, what do you think you get? A rubbish photo. End of. Rubbish composition equals rubbish photo, regardless of what you've taken the photo using. So, if you do a rubbish composition with a 20 grand Hasselblad, 10 grand, 20 grand, I'm not really sure because I don't have one, you'll still have a very high quality, but rubbish photo. Okay, talk a bit over. I think I've made my point there, haven't I? What if I only use a phone? Well, I said last episode, if you only use a phone, only being not a bad thing, if you only use a phone, you're slap bang in the middle of much of the latest tech, which has to be nice, doesn't it? And something that I've not said before, this is a thought that's just come to me. You could take photos with your phone and edit them in Lightroom, Photoshop, or whatever your photo editing software of choice is. If you think about it, a phone, you can look at it as just another device that you can use to take photos. Now, I've only ever done this a few times, and now that I'm writing this, I'm not sure why I haven't done more of it. That's edit my phone photos in Lightroom. Yeah, that's another one for me to think about. And this is why I love photography, and this is why I love writing and talking about this stuff. See, there's always a new direction to go in, there's always new things to do, new ways to look at things, and ways to practice and improve. What do? Well, I've told you, I use some tech to help me take photos, but I'm a few years behind in the tech stakes. But my photos aren't suffering for that, if I think about it. No, I buy tech when it will help me to take better photos, but I do use the latest tech when I'm editing my photos. That I am up to date with. And again, the tech is helping me to create the photos that I create. But with all my photos, I do start with the fundamental of getting the best composition that I can. Tech will not replace that. Composition is king, dear listener. Let us never forget that. Composition before tech. Okay? Right, some thoughts from the last episode. Well, the last episode was the same subject, really. So these 2 episodes have been quite an eye-opener for me, and I am suffering a bit, and I've been looking at new cameras, so, well, maybe next year. But the overriding thought I have from both episodes is this. Use the tech to help you to get technically correct photos. Use the tech to help you to get photos that you couldn't get without it. Use the tech to help you to get the highest quality photos. And last but by no means least, enjoy it. Enjoy the technology. It's a very enjoyable thing. But please also remember what you include in a photo is really what matters. Composition is still king and always will be. And your photography will improve by practicing taking photos and studying what you do, not by buying the latest tech-laden camera. See, I might want a new camera, but do I really need one? I mean, really need one? Well, I'll leave you to think about that, but the answer is I don't, do I? Next episode. Well, I was meant to be doing Photography Explained podcast episode 146, What is the future for retro photography, or is it all in the past? But I'm not going to. No, I'm not. I am going to do something with a title along the lines of 10 ways to improve your and my photography in 2023. I want to get stuck into taking better photos next year, and I want you to come with me into that one. So the retro episode is going to get further and further into the future. An irony that I absolutely love. And my survey, it's still out there. Yep, my Photography Explained podcast survey is still on the podcast website. Just a few questions. It should take less than a minute to answer. Just head over to photographyexplainedpodcast.com/survey. And if you do, thank you for your help. The answers to the questions will help me shape the podcast to make it better for you and me. Right then, have you got a photography question you want me to answer in plain English in less than 27 minutes-ish, but still without the relevant details? You do? Great, just head over to photographyexplainedpodcast.com/start. This episode was brought to you by a good old cheese and mayo sandwich, not pickle as per my script because I changed my mind at the last minute. So a good old cheese and mayo sandwich and a bag of salt and vinegar crisps, all washed down with a Diet Pepsi before I settled down in my homemade acoustically cushioned recording emporium. Do I know why I'm telling you this? No, I don't, but I do. Okay, I've been Rick McAvoy. Thanks again very much for listening to my small but perfectly formed podcast, it says here, and for giving me between 20 and 30-ish minutes of your valuable time. I'm going to guess 28 minutes here because there's a bit of editing to do. And I would also like to say thanks for being with me in 2022, and I hope that you'll join me in 2023 for the next episode and for lots more good photography stuff throughout the year. So, season's greetings, dear listener, wherever you are and whatever this time of year means to you. And I'll catch you in 2023. Take care, stay safe. Cheers from me, Rick.